We got more free agency notes, Greg. A lot of stuff happening throughout the league today because it is the deadline for these tags to be used. Let's start with wide receiver. So Mike Evans agrees to a 2-year contract extension with the Bucs. He's off the market. Michael Pittman gets the non-exclusive franchise tag. If people are wondering, that means that, yes, you can negotiate with Michael Pittman if you're the Patriots, but you'd have to give up, I think it's 2 first-round picks in return for Pittman. I don't see that happening. So just kind of your thoughts on the domino effect at wide receiver, and it certainly looks like Calvin Ridley might be the guy that's best available by the time we get to next week, Greg.
Yeah, I just think that he's probably going to be the top guy available, and he's going to get overpaid by somebody, and I do not expect Elliott Wolf and the Patriots to overpay for players. I do think they'll pay, but getting crazy on Calvin Ridley, I don't know about that. That's more for other teams to do. One thing I wanted to point out, because you also have like T. Higgins, is getting tagged by the Bengals. Another wide receiver. I did want to point one thing out for people, and this is possible, and it's very possible with T. Higgins and also L'Jarius Sneed, the Chiefs cornerback, is that, yes, the compensation is whatever it is, 2 first-round picks or what have you, depending on the tag, but nothing precludes the teams from working out a deal. So basically, they would just trade the player. You can agree to a trade that's lesser than the tag. It's very similar to how the Patriots got Wes Welker from the Dolphins. I think Wes was a restricted free agent at the time. The Patriots and the Dolphins came to an agreement on compensation, and then the Patriots signed Wes Welker to a new contract once he got there. So don't be afraid of the compensation, because you really don't need to sign a contract offer. Now, if you really want the player and the other team wants to retain him, then you're going to have to give that up. But that rarely happens. Most of the time that the teams settle on, say, like 1 first-round pick, and then you got to pay the player. But you can craft a deal like that.
Great point. All right, let's get to the tight end market. So Dalton Schultz, who was somebody who's been linked with the Patriots in some reports over the last few days, he's going to stay in Houston. 3 years, $36 million. Of course, this could set the market for Hunter Henry, maybe a little less than Dalton Schultz, maybe the same as Dalton Schultz. But now the Patriots, Greg, they're looking at Henry, who reportedly they are far apart, talking to him about contract extension. Noah Fant is also out there. Gerald Everett is also out there. Where do you think this leads New England as far as the tight end position goes?
Yeah, I think they would want Hunter Henry back. What was the Schultz? How much did he get?
3 years, 36.
So it's
right about 12? The franchise tag, I think, right? Franchise tag went up a little bit.
And that's where, Hunter Henry got it, 3 years ago from the Patriots. Him and Jonnu Smith both got like $12 million per year from the Patriots. You would think Hunter would be a little bit below that. I could see why he's drawn a hard line and maybe wants to go to market. Remember how the Patriots ended up with both Jonnu Smith. Remember, they signed Jonnu Smith first, and then sort of Hunter Henry happened at the same level a day or two after that. And what really happened was Hunter Henry, I think, turned down the Patriots offer, went to look for bigger money, wasn't out there, then came back to the Patriots and just said, is that offer still on the table? And then Bill thought about it and was like, 2 tight ends at that number? Okay, yeah, let's do it. So Hunter is definitely, one of these guys who, and there's nothing wrong with this. It's not a criticism. I think he's looking for the best deal possible. And to me, I think at the end of the day, getting Pharaoh Brown and Hunter Henry back, I think would be the best thing for the Patriots. Then you can draft one and develop a guy, sort of like what we wanted them to do last year. But of course, we all know what happened with all that stuff, tackle and tight end. And so I could see Hunter Henry being back here, but again, they're going to let him go to market and determine his value.
All right, more tag news. Josh Allen just tagged by the Jaguars. He was one of the top edge guys defensively there in free agency, or was expected to be or hoped to be. He's off the market. He's been tagged. Brian Burns also tagged by Carolina, so both edges get tagged. Greg, I mentioned this name a little bit earlier. I found it interesting that Doug Kyed, Andrew Callahan at the Herald, they've reported that the Patriots are going to target at least one elite defender who would start immediately for Gerard Mayo. Now, when I think elite, I think elite. A lot of people say, oh, that guy's elite, but he's like 8th or 9th as far as rankings at the position. Elite means cream of the crop, baby. We're talking top 10, top 15 free agent here. And I do wonder if edge is one of those places. We talked about, Matthew Judon. Maybe it's time to move on from him because of his contract. We know he's going to want to get paid. Danielle Hunter is a name I keep going back to. He's somebody who has been incredibly productive, more than 70 pressures last year for Minnesota. He's out on the market. What do you think about Kyle and Callahan's report about, hey, maybe the Patriots do go defense and try to get one of those elite names available?
Yeah, I think it's, in my opinion, it's a case of, I think it's swapping out one for another, sort of what we talked about earlier. I think that Judon, we all know what the contract issues were last year, and it's sort of holding in camp, and then they moved money from 2024 into 2023 to get him done, and now he's not set to make much, and no guaranteed money, stuff like that. And a player as accomplished as Judon, and doesn't like that. And he's going to want a new contract or a new situation, and I could see the Patriots saying like, okay, go do your thing, and then swapping Hunter in for him would make a lot of sense. I think that edge and free safety will be two spots on defense where they're looking to make an impact. Josh Uche probably gone. If Judon's gone, they don't have anything on the edge, so they better have a plan at edge.
I know some people were getting excited about Christian Wilkins, who's not going to sign with the Dolphins.
Yeah.
But the question about Wilkins and really any interior defensive lineman that's out there is you've got Barmore. And if you're going to sign Barmore to a big fat contract extension, how much money are you willing to pour into the interior defensive line? Are you're going to give Barmore this big fat extension plus give Christian Wilkins a top of the market deal, and now you're paying what, $35-40 million average annual value at inside defensive line? I can't imagine that's going to be the case. So I would look at edge, I would look at safety, and it depends on, again, the elite moniker, but corner could be an option too. You can move Jonathan Jones out of the outside. So I don't think it'd be crazy to think that cornerback could be a target, including old friend Stephon Gilmore. Maybe he's open to coming back on a 1-year deal until you can kind of reshape that thing with Christian Gonzalez. Let's get back to the offense.
I will say, just real quick, I will say, totally agree on Hunter. Bryce Huff from the Jets is a guy who I think is going to get paid. He's sort of flying under the radar, but really good. And so, and I think free safety, when you look at it, and we don't know what their plans are with Marte Mapu, as we talked about before, and how they view him. But to me, there's no question that free safety was a weakness in this unit. And if I'm Gerard Mayo, that's something that I'm looking to upgrade.
Yeah, and some would bring up Hassan Reddick, but of course, if you're gonna go out and get him, that's gonna cost you a pick or two because that would be via trade. So, but he is another guy that's been reportedly available, even though he says he wants to stay.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
All right, let's get back to the offensive line quickly. We were talking about Onwenu a little bit earlier. There have been reports, Greg, that the Patriots are targeting Tyron Smith, of course, from Dallas. We thought that Smith was going to stay in Dallas. Now it looks like he's unlikely to stay in Dallas. Might lead you to believe that during the combine, his agent heard something that he might be able to get more money than Dallas was willing to offer. Would you like that idea, the Patriots going out and getting Smith on a short-term 1 or 2 year deal and putting him at left tackle?
Yes, and by the way, I forgot to add, first of all, nobody loves Christian Wilkins more than I do. I have loved watching his film over the years for the Dolphins, but I agree, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this team unless you're going to move like Devon Godchow or something like that, even though they play slightly different positions. As far as Tyron Smith, when he's on the field, he's still elite. The problem with him is he's hurt all the time. So, yes, in a vacuum, if he's healthy, yes, I would definitely look into that, and I think that would be appealing, at least as a placeholder. Maybe you get a developmental guy. You're going to have another plan if he goes down, because he often goes down, and I don't even know how much he practices and things like that. One thing, Nick, I want to caution people on, and we're going to hear this, and we've already heard it, and we're going to hear it a ton more. To me, it's hard to discern these reports, like how much interest there is, because what's one reporter is the interest is another reporter's due diligence and that sort of thing. So I just caution people, like, just because the Patriots, they might be quote unquote linked to somebody, look, the Patriots are going to, anybody who's available, including Tyron Smith, they are going to check in on. They are going to see what not only for their own interest, but possibly just gauging the market, maybe even negotiations with other players and things like that. Basically, anybody that is available, and this goes for free agents, this goes for trade. The Patriots someone from the Patriots is going to call that team, is going to call that agent and find out what's going on. Hey, keep us in mind. Let us know what you're doing. Does that mean that they're interested, that they're really targeting this person? No. So, just people should just be careful about, linking too much. A lot of this is just due diligence and doing their job and making sure they know the market, and not actual interest. And sometimes that's tough to discern.
Yeah, and I'll just go back to your points on Smith and his health. You have to have a backup plan, as you said. Is Calvin Anderson back in football? How is he health-wise? Do you think he has something left that he was not able to show last year because of the illness he had? Is he your swing tackle? Jermaine Illuminor is a name that I keep bringing up. Is he great? No, he's not, but he's been pretty good for the Raiders the last couple of years. He could be a swing tackle. He could be some depth insurance if you go out there and you get Smith. Smith played 14 games last year. He was a second-team All-Pro, and, a lot of people in Dallas would tell you it's because they changed his practice schedule, i.e. he did not take a lot of contact during the week. They preserved his body. So maybe that gets him somewhere. Before I give you another offensive line name, Greg, I could be wrong, but I think you like this guy, and I don't know if it's going to matter at all or not, but interestingly enough, it looks like the Dolphins have released their starting linebacker, Jerome Baker. Is that somebody who you take a look at?
I would need to do more of a deep dive. I love Baker's athletic ability, but man, he is snookered a lot on play action, over aggressive. I mean, is that the type of guy that Gerard Mayo looks at and says, I can coach this guy up? Possibly. To me, I thought at least in the recent scheme for the Dolphins, I thought he was more of a liability than anything, but certainly a fascinating prospect if you think there's another level you can coach him to.
Another name that's been mentioned about this O-line, possibly Patriots looking at, targeting, talking to, whatever the case may be. Jonah Williams. He is somebody supposedly on the radar of the Patriots. I don't know if this is in case you don't get Smith. It sounded like the report that I read, I think it was in Mass Live with Karen and Chris Mason and Mark Daniels. That report certainly made it sound like it was Smith first and then Williams if they couldn't get Smith. But your thoughts on Jonah Williams as an option?
Yeah, I mean, that's a name that I've been talking about for a while that, if I was going to draw it up, Jonah Williams would be that tackle that I can get, and I'm still flexible because he's played both sides of the line.
Yep.
You could go, okay, we're going to lock up Jonah Williams so we know we have a starting tackle. And it could be he could start at left tackle. He did that for many years and was a good, solid player. He's better in pass pro than he is run blocking. And say you end up at the end of the day trading down and taking one of the top tackles in the draft or what have you, the secondary, and the kid pops. Well, and he could play left tackle. Let's just use Joe Alt as an example. Say you trade down a few spots in the draft out of quarterback and you draft the best left tackle. If Joe Alt hits and he's the left tackle, all of a sudden Jonah Williams is your right tackle, and now you're cooking with gas. So Jonah Williams is a guy that I would have a lot of interest in. I wouldn't mind, Nick, I don't know how you feel about this. I wouldn't mind kicking the tire on Mekhi Becton. I know he's had a lot of issues. It all depends on the contract and stuff, but man, there's no question. His early rookie tape was unbelievable. And, sometimes guys just go through stretches in their career, especially when they're young, when they go through injuries and then all of a sudden they come out of that. Is he coachable? A lot of it's going to depend on what the Patriots, what Scott Peters, the offensive line coach, what Kugler, the assistant offensive line coach, what they thought about him coming out in the draft. There's no question the talent is, the upside is unbelievable. And there's one other name that I wanted people to, and I don't even know if it's on this list where I'm looking, and I keep scrolling through Pro Football Talk. I am going to try to find it. It is the Vikings have a backup offensive lineman that I heard things about when the Patriots traded for, which is the dude that they traded for the Vikings? Vidarian Lowe. Somebody told me, Vidarian Lowe's got a chance. Who you really want is a guy named Oli Udu, 6th-round pick in 2019. That there's he's 6'5", 6'5.5", 320 pounds. Hasn't really got a ton of a chance with the Vikings, but he might be sort of one of those under the radar, small bet, hoping it hits big that the Patriots could be interested in.
Yeah, to get back to Becton, he is just a massive human. And the question is, can he stay in shape? Can he stay healthy? How invested is he? I actually watched him a decent amount at Louisville because one of my really good friends down in Virginia is a Louisville fan. So I saw a lot of Lamar Jackson and Mekhi Becton during those couple of years. And yeah, there's no doubt about his potential, his athleticism at that size. He'd be an interesting flyer. He'd be an interesting kind of lottery ticket